Pizza Tower is a goddamn classic. The release of this game has completely changed the entire landscape of the video game industry. There are no longer different genres, just different variations of Pizza Tower. The Last of Us is Zombie Pizza Tower, Death Stranding is the first Strand-like Pizza Tower, Sonic is Blue Pizza Tower, Mario is Italian Pizza Tower. Wait, the things that make this game tick are it's simple, it's creative, it's replayable, it has great fundamental movement, and whether you're talking about the maniac you play as or the game design in general, the one thing you can never say is that it's static. Every level is something new. One level you're in the middle of a desert, the next you're in a dungeon, then you're on a farm where a chicken ratatouilles you around while your eyes go. Then you make your way to a cemetery where you turn into a ghost, and then you play as a dude riding a mouse who's chasing a cheese on a string. Is this game even about pizza anymore? There's so many small background jokes, so many fun little designs, but even though the game looks ridiculous and acts ridiculous, that doesn't mean this is some meme game with no real backbone. It's a fantastic game that's been painted over by a small, disturbed child. Pizza Tower was apparently inspired by Wario Land, but I've never played that, so pretend it doesn't exist. What this reminds me of is 2D Sonic. Speed is a big component to it, but it's not everything. It's definitely not a precision platformer, but sometimes it'd do you well to take it slow on your first run because there's a lot to react to, but once you get the hang of things, you can get through 99% of sections at top speed. Just like Sonic, this game sets up stretches where it completely lets you loose. You can hold sprint and a directional button and barrel through everything. It's like a speed power fantasy, but you can never get through a full level like that. You still gotta stay sharp and get ready to avoid obstacles and spiked objects. It's hard to master levels, but it's really easy to enjoy them, and it's so smart with how it promotes a quick pace. In the first half of a level, you can take your time in places, but you have a combo meter that resets if you go too long without knocking out an enemy, so there's a reason to push yourself if you can, but it's not the end of the world if you don't. And then in the second half, it'll set up a timer for you to escape, and you gotta start hustling. But your escape route is the reverse of the first half, so you see familiar areas and know roughly how far away you are from the finish, which makes speeding back a bit easier. But it's not all the same. Sometimes different routes open up or you get different power-ups, so it also doesn't feel like the game is lazily sending you through the same map again. Plus, if you're really speedy and get to the exit early, you have the option to wrap back around the level and go down the escape route again to increase your level score. There's stuff in here that makes it easier for your first run and other stuff that gives this game a higher skill ceiling, and it's all wrapped up together seamlessly. You look at players that are actually good at the game and there's so much diving and wall running and super jumping and slamming and parrying. Yes, I said parrying. It looks so great in motion, and I eventually wanted to get that good at the game, but if you see my gameplay, it's just slamming into every wall in the game. But the way you know this is a high quality title is because even though I was playing Herding Italian Man Simulator 6, I still managed to have one of the best experiences I'm gonna have this entire year. The art style is intentionally crude, but it's not thrown together. There's still a lot of care put into everything. Even when you're standing idly by, Peppino starts dancing or biting the bejesus out of his own hand. If you start the game and take a minute to press any buttons, it turns into amnesia and then force quits out. And I've already seen the intro cutscene like 30 times over because it's incredible. Bottom line, I always liked looking at this game, even though it doesn't have the same fine brushstrokes or striking experimental visuals of other indies, because it's having so much fun with its concepts. That also extends into little gags and details. If you hurt Peppino 10 times in a level, you get this message saying, "You've hurt Peppino 10 times. And that scared me enough to never find out what happens if you hurt him anymore. I've never felt so genuinely threatened by a game in my entire life. I have kind of mixed thoughts on the bosses. They aren't bad, but they have more of a start and stop tempo than the rest of the game, and you gotta be a bit more reserved and memorize a lot of patterns, but it's still nice to have a few of these sprinkled in here, and they still play to the game's strengths visually. Like the first boss, where you fight a jacked, narcissistic Pepper who gets distracted by reflections or statues of himself. That's like the way you beat him, it's great. Also, without a shred of irony, this is like 100% serious. This might have one of my favorite game soundtracks of all time. The soundtrack has absolutely no right to slap this hard. When I make my non-Game of the Year video at the end of 2023, this is a shoe-in for Surprise Indie Game of the Year, except I definitely won't even remember that I thought of that as a category by the time I make that video, so just pretend like it's there. I already know I'm too stupid to remember this, so just remember it for me, alright? But probably the best praise I can give this game is that my roommate just bought a beefy $2,000 PC with a 4070. Like, he's never bought a PC before, and he went all out here, so I was like, alright, he's ready to do some serious gaming, and I asked him, hey, what games are you gonna play on that thing? And he looked me dead in the eye, straight-faced and completely serious. The only game he said,
Pizza Tower.